What's up, guys? It's your boy Spider Productions here, and today we are back with a PlayBack video. I know I haven't really watched PlayBack in a bit. There are a couple videos from them that I've watched here and there on my own time, but I figured since I haven't watched one in a while, I should check one out. And they just dropped this one not that long ago. Apparently, this one says abortion is worse than slavery. I don't think that's accurate, but okay. I guess this has to do about the whole Roe versus Wade thing. Personally, I didn't keep up with that trial. I have no reason really to keep up with the trial, but as far as I'm aware, I heard it was overturned, which I'm assuming that means certain states in the United States will either make it, I don't want to say illegal, but like, I guess illegal maybe, to abort children after a certain period of time has passed. And I think, you know, most women don't like the idea of them not being able to control who they want to abort or not. Personally, I don't agree with abortion. Personally, that's just me. I don't agree with the thought of it. But then again, I still think people should have the choice to make those decisions if they want to. So, I don't know. I'm in a weird, awkward situation. I personally don't want to get too political with it, but I figure this is going to be hilarious. So I'm going to check this out, see what this is. So, jump right in.
Abortion's worse than slavery. I don't care if this hurts your feelings. I don't care. Abortion is the #1 worst human rights issue that has ever happened on American soil.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I find this really ridiculous because it sounds like your feelings are hurt, which is why you're making this statement in the first place. But for you to say that abortion is the #1 worst human rights thing to deal with is crazy. And for you to say that it's even crazier for you to say that abortion is worse than slavery. Or you saying that, I guess, the abortion is worse than slavery. I don't think so. I don't think it is. Forcing human beings, especially fully grown adult human beings, all African American, to work in fields and move heavy labor and not have a voice to speak their minds or live the way they want to live their lives and stuff like that. I think that's worse than whether you want to get rid of a baby or not. So I don't think that's at all correlated. That's just me, but alright.
So we decided let's go to the channel Friday because the TikTok is too fine night.
You know, sometimes I always like to hear people explain that to me.
I mean this, and I'm going to unpack what I mean by this. So first of all, a very common question is, why do you feel the need to compare the two? Mm-hmm. They're both injustices.
Yeah, because you can't compare them. I'm sorry, I don't think you can. Like, how can you compare slavery to abortion? Like, I just don't see the correlation between the two.
That's a very good question. That is a very good question.
Hey,
why do you?
That's funny as hell. She already knows when she's fucking up.
Man,
she's trying to get in front of it like she's Eminem.
Hey man, that's a very great question, man. That is a very good. Because I never in my life did I think to tell myself, like, when I really want to have these conversations, I need to start comparing two tragedies going on.
I feel the need to compare the two because our society is completely desensitized to what abortion is.
Yeah.
And our generation, especially in Gen Z, has no idea how atrocious abortion is and what a human rights issue it is. And I think it's actually really useful.
She's trying to be provocative to resensitize you.
Yes. So you are trying to be provocative. Don't make it seem like you're not trying to be provocative. You are trying to be provocative. You ask that type of a question, like literally you're attempting to be provocative.
Also, people are desensitized to slavery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Someone will work a 12-hour shift and be like, I just got done slaving.
Facts.
No, you did.
That is true.
You did.
You work hard,
I
dog.
had AC.
And you got paid.
Say that abortion is worse than slavery because it really forces people to think. Because what's the worst human rights issue that everybody talks about? Slavery. And yes, of course, it was heinous, it was wrong, it was immoral, it was disgusting. We all know that. But once you put slavery and abortion in the same sentence, it really forces you to understand the true atrocities of abortion. I've said this many times.
What? I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Hold on. So you're saying, yes, slavery was bad, atrocious, it was disgusting, it was immoral, it was all that stuff. But then when you put abortion and slavery in the same sentence, you really see how bad abortion is compared to slavery. Huh? What are we talking about here? I'm sorry. What are we talking about here? That makes zero sense. That you putting abortion in the same sentence as slavery means that makes abortion worse than slavery. What? Come on, bro.
Yeah.
It is the number one human rights issue that is going on in our country right
There's a
now.
guy who commented on that post on TikTok.
Bitch, it is done voluntarily.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It's done voluntarily.
That's what I'm
It is
talking
voluntarily.
about. Abortion is voluntarily. That's what I'm talking about. What? You can decide whether you want to have an abortion or not. You couldn't decide whether or not you wanted to be a slave. That was not something you could decide. If you looked like me or had the same skin complexion as I do, you are a slave during that time period. Or you're getting killed by people wearing fucking ghost costumes. That's how it was back then. That wasn't a choice. That was just something you were born and unfortunately had to deal with at that time period, which really freaking sucks. Excuse me. Abortion, however, is something that you can voluntarily choose whether you want to do it or not. You don't have to do it. You can stop the baby if you want to. You can not have the baby if you want to and just give it up for adoption. That's up to you. But, bro, slavery is not voluntary. Slavery is not voluntary. You cannot choose whether or not you wanted to be a slave. You were unfortunately forced to do it based on the skin complexion. Abortion can be done by anybody of any race, of any culture, if you have the resources to do so. And it's voluntary. You're not forced to do it.
It's involuntary.
But what she was saying is that when the procedure occurs, when the procedure happens, like, the baby is not voluntary. That's what
Okay, alright, so hold on now. Are you arguing that little itty bitty infant went through worse than a fucking slave?
it's not even an infant. Like, for people who don't know, like, at least I'm gonna say my stance. My stance on the whole procedure, we're not even talking about a fetus, bro. We're talking about an embryo. Majority of women who have the procedure have it within the first trimester, have it within the first 8 weeks. Before the 2-month period starts, we're talking about an embryo. We're talking about a stage where it's not even clear if the brain, heart, spine, all that stuff has even formed yet. Well, that's how early on an overwhelming majority of women have that procedure. To consider that a human being is crazy, dog. That is crazy. That's crazy. Especially when you compare it to slavery.
I say it's worse to compare it to slavery. Saying it's a human being is 50-50.
Slavery happened once in history. Slavery has always existed in different
I think
forms.
she's going to say that. But she did say American soil, and she's speaking through the lens of America. She is saying that.
Oh, brother. I don't know how it was in Canada, but in America, in Canada, they even had like Japanese internment camps.
Yeah.
They were the ones who built the railroads for like the Canadian railroad system, and it was fucked.
Yeah.
That was slavery.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were going nuts. I forget who he responded to, but I think it was some girl that was like, as a black woman, this is horrible. I can't believe you would say something like this. And this one guy responded, and he said, 60 million plus kids have been murdered since 1973, have been aborted since 1973. It's not a stretch to say that abortion is worse than slavery.
It is.
And I was like, wow, this guy's probably thinking about.
What? So you're what? What? Like I did.
Critically.
Yeah. First, before I go into my argument, that response of yours, I'm black. And
Yeah.
I'm getting tons of comments about that. This is how dumb people are. People really think
That
that
only black people have been enslaved.
only black people.
Throughout history.
Guys.
Hold on.
Literally, probably the majority of human beings on Earth today, their ancestors owned slaves.
Right.
Like, slavery was so widespread and people so common, especially on TikTok. I mean, these people really think they're like.
So let's pause for a second, because you specifically said on American soil. So let's be clear with that. You said that. That's the reason why people would then jump to the conclusion about Africans being enslaved on America. But for you to then further, this is the crazy part. For you to then further identify that slavery has impacted the entire world, and then continue to only cite American abortion statistics is fucking dumb. You're dumb. If you acknowledge that slavery has impacted the entire world for millennia at this point, like for decades and hundreds of years, centuries and centuries, if you acknowledge that, but then compare that, what you're doing right now, how it's impacting the entire world, but only by talking about abortions in America, it's even worse, because by default that means that slavery has impacted more people than abortions have. So it still doesn't make any sense.
You're not black, you've never experienced slavery. I'm like, babe, it doesn't matter what color your skin is, you've never experienced slavery either. And let me tell you something, even if you're black, Asian, Hispanic, I don't know, purple, whatever color you are, very likely that your ancestors somewhere down the line owned slaves. You know why?
Yeah.
Because slavery was a widespread human rights issue for many, many centuries around the world. In pretty much every era, pretty much every...
Like it's the past. I'm not a fucking historian, but there's a place on the planet right now where people are enslaved that I might want to visit, and my selfish ass has spoke on the internet because I don't want to get checked when I get to the border. Some of these countries. Bro, it still exists on the planet. There are people in places they don't want to be, and they can't leave, and they're working their asses off. Not a thing of the past. It's not even like a different version of slavery. It's just the regular slavery, and it still exists.
Nation still is. All these people are like, I'm black, you can't say that. I'm like, bruh, do you know about the current slavery happening right now in Africa? You want to talk about that? Or you want to cry about the slavery that happened here hundreds of years ago?
Yeah.
You want to talk about the slavery that's happening right now in China, right now in Africa? Probably not, because you're disingenuous, and they're like, you need to read a history book. I'm like, it's so ironic that you say that, because they actually think that the only people on planet Earth to have ever been enslaved were black people.
So again, just from a logical lens, if you were comparing it to abortions that happen in the States, bro, if you just look at the numbers, you go to CDC right now, bro, it's like 700,000, it's like under 1 million. It's actually been cut in half since 1990. If you look at that number, to believe, especially since now you are correlating it to slavery throughout the entire world, or to believe that in the entire world that there are more than 600,000 people enslaved right now, it's crazy. That would be dumb of you to believe.
And people who you were saying are desensitized to the idea of abortion.
Yes, so now let me unpack why abortion is worse than slavery.
I'll be like that, like, go, the bags are ready, they're here, go unpack.
Okay, so the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Listen to that order. The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What does abortion take away? It takes away the right to life. And do you think that our founding fathers just threw those words together willy-nilly, nonchalantly, without ever thinking about them? You think the order of those words doesn't have any meaning?
Bro, I'm so sick of Americans pretending like these damn the founders of this country were some philosophical great beings. They own slaves!
Yeah, they
What
own
the fuck is going on about?
I'm sorry. They own slaves just as much as anybody else in high power back then. So yeah, it has nothing to do. No, like, we're not saying the forefathers are these great philosophical beings. They were just as bad, if not worse, than most people probably around that time, especially because they did own slaves during that time period. So no, I'm sorry.
When they wrote that, they were like, yeah, my slave down the street definitely won't like me writing this. No, they didn't. When they were writing in those rights, those civil liberties, it was not a Olympian vision that they were going to give them to slaves, dog. So you believing they had a right to life. All that was not given to slaves, dog.
Nah. Reading from the Constitution like it's some sort of like holy text is fucking crazy. These are humans who wrote it.
What's more, you going back to America. So when people try to figure out why people pivoted to African being enslaved in America, it's because you keep referencing America. That's why. But again, when they were writing that, they were not thinking to themselves, Jerome really like how I'm fucking spitting this fucking civil liberties to him.
He's gonna think I'm hella progressive.
He's gonna think I'm hella progressive. No! The only reason why slaves weren't dying is because the fucking slave owner believed that there was some type of concept to them living. That's it. It's not as if like the slaves had the ability to determine if they were going to live or not. No, that's up to the slave master. It's the reason why when they were going from Africa to America, literally over 1 million slaves died within the process, and they didn't care. They just dumped them over the boat. So the right to life still was not given to slaves. It was given to the slave owner to determine if they were going to kill them or not. So it still doesn't make any sense. If you were to sit here and quote some shit from the founding fathers and you believe that when they wrote that, they had in their mind they were like, bro, gotta make sure these slaves are covered.
Yeah,
that's what you thinking right now?
The founding fathers were so poetic that the order of which they wrote this shit in is relevant. Damn, like I don't know what the fuck to think. This is crazy.
But even if though, let's just say they were not writing that with the envision that they were going to give these rights to slaves, dog. They were slaves.
Hey man.
Both by your logic, neither one of them had those rights. Babies who got hated because of the procedures and slavery, neither one of them got the rights.
Hey, she's dumb.
If you're not alive, you can't have liberty. You can't have a right to the pursuit of happiness. Now, again, I can't even believe I have to say this, but I have to say this for all the dum-dums. Obviously, slavery is one of the worst things that human beings have ever done to each other.
When we look at it in the 21st century in the West,
That's true.
That. If we were in 1500s wherever, we probably wouldn't think that.
That's true.
Yeah.
And
Pre-enlightenment.
But the thing about slavery is that you still have a right to life.
Mm-hmm.
You are at least alive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You are alive. Now, do you have a...
No. You were not alive. I don't know if you haven't noticed, like he explained earlier, your right to live was not your right. It was the right of the slave masters. They were the ones to dictate whether you were to live or die, based on your work ethic, based on whether they tolerated your existence at that point or you just pissed them off, whatever the case may be. They decided whether you were to live or die or not. Live or die. They were to decide that, not you. For you to say, oh, well, at least slaves had the right to life, whereas babies did not. We didn't have a right to life either. We couldn't dictate whether we wanted to live or die. That was up to the slave masters to choose that for us. So no. I'm sorry. No. That was not our choice. We could not choose whether to live or die. We couldn't make that choice. So for you to say that we could make that choice meant that slavery wasn't really as bad as you make it, as most people would say it is. Jesus Christ, man. Wow. I'm not a historian either, so there's probably a bunch of things about history that I don't know about. I'm pretty sure. Because I don't know everything. And I'm positive there are things about slavery that I don't know about either. And things that I still learn to this day. But for you to think that slaves had a right to life, even if I were to just only watch slavery through films and movies, even from that I know that slaves did not have a right to life. Even I knew that through films. Not even just learning through history. Through films. Films explain that pretty well. Whether it was just normal slavery, like just historical slavery, or like Spartan slavery during the Spartan era or something like that. Even I know that slaves did not have a right to life. They don't. They don't. They never had, and they never will. That's up to the people that own them and force them to do labor.
a right to liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Very.
They don't have a right because they don't decide whether or not they're alive. That's not their right. Their owner has the right to their life. It is not this. They do not own the right to life if they can't choose what to do with it. And
Exactly.
It's the dumbest thing.
Exactly. Like you can't. Exactly. Like you can't. You don't have a choice.
Or right to life if you have no right, if you have no ability to decide what to do with your life. You're saying that at least slaves had a right to life, which means they had a right to live. But if you're saying that they had a right to live, so they had a right to live as slaves? No. I'm pretty sure they all would have wanted to do something differently with their lives instead of being slaves. So no, slaves did not have a right to life. Their owners had a right to their lives.
Mind you, we started off by saying that the reason why she made this equivalency is because she felt like people were desensitized to abortion. As she then proceeds to marginalize the impact and what slavery actually meant, to then try to do the exact same thing as slavery.
if slaves worked under conditions where they would be alive and wouldn't then I'd be like, okay, they had the right to. Like for example, if you're in prison, you still have your right to life.
Yeah.
You don't have your freedom, but you have your right to
Yeah.
life.
I agree with that. Yeah. When you're in prison, you have a right to live. Yeah, unless you did like something horrendous and you're like put on death row or something like that. But yeah, if you're in prison and you get incarcerated for doing a crime, you may not have your freedom. You don't have your right to freedom, but you have your right to life. You can still live. You just live in prison. Unless you did something horrendous where you need to be put on death row. But no, if you are in prison, if you're incarcerated for a crime, you have your right to life, but you just don't have your right to freedom. Same with slavery, or not same, but like with slaves it's different. In prison, when you're in prison, you have your right to life, you just don't have your right to freedom. Slavery, you don't have a right to freedom, nor do you have a right to life, because your life was dictated by your owners, by your slave owners. They dictated whether you were to live or die or not you. You waking up every single day saying, I just can't wait to get back to work and hope that I could do my massa proud. No, motherfucker, that's not how that works. That's not how that works. We did not have people during that time period did not have the right to do what they wanted to do with their lives, and I'm pretty sure, absolutely positively sure, that most of them would have wanted to do something other than slavery with their lives. So for you to say that slavery is not as bad as abortion because slaves had a right to life compared to babies who were aborted is crazy, because that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Mining for fucking gold and diamonds and in the sugar fields. They were dying. That's the right to life.
And again, it wasn't up to them. At any point, if the slave owner wanted to come over and off them, he could do that.
Yeah.
That's not a right to life.
That's not a right to life. It's literally the exact same thing you're fighting against when it comes to the procedure. It's literally, if you're saying that the mother has the decision what she wants to do, it's the same thing with the slave master having the decision on what they want to do.
Exactly.
It's again, just using your dumbass logic, it's the same thing. That's not a right to life.
Thing in their life that allows them to transcend the suffering.
Let's talk about today. I still support abortion is worse than slavery. Look at the types of slavery that's going on right now, right here in this country, and you're gonna say that's a really big stretch for you to call slavery. I don't know, student debt. I call that slavery.
I'm sorry. There's no fucking way. I'm sorry. No, absolutely not. I'm sorry, bro. Hold the fuck up. Wait a second. This dude did not just say. I'm sorry. Hold up. This dude did not just say that student debt is a form of slavery. He did not just say that.
Oh, this dude did not just say that.
This dude did not just say that student debt is a form of slavery.
Bro, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? I understand student debt. I'm in college, so I get it. Student debt is annoying. It definitely is. But for you to say that student debt in some way imaginable is similar or is a form of slavery? What? Our world is just birthing dummies and idiots. We're just birthing dumbasses. People who have dumbass opinions. Like, I get everyone deserves a right to their opinion, even if it's stupid. But this is the stupidest opinion I've ever heard lately. Not ever, because I've heard even dumber opinions. But lately, that is the dumbest opinion I've ever heard. For this dude to compare slavery and say that student debt is a form of slavery. What? Oh.
You do?
Wow.
And that's where I had to cut off the video. That's where I had to cut off the video.
And I don't blame
Be very
you.
mindful, we started this fucking conversation with her saying people are trying to marginalize and lessen the impact of abortion, and that's the reason why I need to compare abortion to slavery. That's the reason why, so we can understand the severity of it. Okay, but throughout the entire time they've been talking about it, they've been doing nothing more but marginalizing and trying to make sure everybody's desensitized to what slavery is. You sitting here trying to say, oh, well, technically, you have all these fucking technicalities to the point where this bozo right here, even though we all know what type of slavery we're talking about, this fucking idiot then goes on to compare slavery to student debt. Are you dumb, nigga? No! It's not no!
It's like, were you forced into your student debt?
No.
Did your student debt kill you?
No.
No.
Did you have the freedom to choose whether or not you wanted the debt?
No.
What? That is nuts.
That is the dumbest thing. And what's crazy is, if that is the way that you would have to make your argument that you're trying to position right now, you've lost the fucking argument. You lost it already. You lost the argument. If you believe the way I can get my point across by saying, man, technically speaking, sadly, man, that's slavery right there. If that's your argument, you've lost it, bro.
But the fact that they're having a very honest and real conversation about slavery, this is literal, and he's like, yes, you know other form of slavery? Not the one you signed up for! You can't sign up for slavery! It's not how that shit works! Like, why would it be slavery? It'd just be bad working conditions.
Yeah.
Hey man, let us know in the comment section what you've gone through today that was just like slavery. If you enjoyed, drop a like. If you want to hear another dumb take, your brain can take it. Watch this video right here.
Jesus Christ, man. That was awful. That was awful. That was an awful conversation between those two. Not them, but like that woman and that guy. Y'all had the dumbest opinions I've ever heard over a serious topic, which is slavery. And that's so ridiculous how people could just have dumb takes and think it's the most intelligent thing they've ever said their whole life. For that dude to literally say that slavery, for her to say that abortion is worse than slavery, because at least when it came to slavery, you had a right to life, is dumb. Because that's not accurate. Not in any stretch of the imagination is that accurate at all. Because your life was not yours. Your life was to your slave master. They can decide whether or not you had a right to life or not. But not only did she have a dumbass opinion like that, the guy had an even worse opinion by saying that student debt is a form of slavery. That's crazy. That's crazy. I never thought I would have heard anybody make that correlation, saying that student debt is a form of slavery. I never thought I would have heard that correlation ever in my lifetime. I've been around 21 years of my lifetime, and I never thought I would ever hear someone make a conversation or take like that. That student debt is a form of slavery. I am currently dealing with student debt. Me and my mom are currently talking about student debt because I'm in college. So I get it. Student debt is a pain in the ass. But student debt is not something that I'm forced to do. You're not forced into student debt. You're not forced to sign a petition and student debt is just in your financial struggles. Student debt does not kill me without having a choice. Student debt does not control my life. It just controls my finances, which is something I can make up for. But for you to say that student debt is a form of slavery is crazy. That is the most insane take I've ever heard anybody make. Alright guys, there's my opinion on this. I was hoping that I would laugh at this. And I did. There were moments I did laugh, but overall this was a serious conversation that needed to be had. So I hope you guys enjoyed my take, my opinions on this video. I'm gonna try not to make this too sad or not just too annoying for anybody else listening to this. But I hope you guys enjoyed my reaction to this video. If you guys did, let me know in the comments down below what your opinions on this subject is. Do you agree with the two idiots on the video that they were reacting to, or do you agree with some at least logical people? Please, I hope we can all come to an understanding. But yeah, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on this subject matter down in the description down below. Drop a like on the video for your boy. Hit the subscribe button to be part of the community and bell notifications so you guys know when I shall post next. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.